Whenever I'm ready.
That's going in the beginning.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Jay with Paddle and Fin, and today we're going to show you our kayak trailer and rooftop tent setups. Alright guys, we're going to give you a breakdown and set up a time lapse of each tent getting set up. And you know, when we're kayak fishing and kayak tournament fishing, time is of the essence. When you got to break down in the morning and get to that body of water, how long is it going to take? Or after a long day of fishing, you get to your campground, you know, how long is it going to take you to actually set your setup up? I myself have the Yakima Skyrise HD medium tent, and Jay has the Smittybuilt XL Overlander tent, and we're going to break these two tents down. After we get them set up, we'll give you a walkthrough what we feel are our pros and cons to it, or each tent, so that way you can get a great comparison. So let's get these things set up and give you guys a sneak peek. Alright guys, there you have it. Jay took about 6 minutes to set up his Smittybuilt. In his defense, he hasn't set up his tent in a little bit. You know, he kind of had to go through and figure a couple things out. I just used my tent last weekend, so used to opening it up. You know, Jay's got a couple more tent stakes on his for his rain fly than I do, I believe. I know if you guys noticed in that time lapse, I kind of struggle with the one because my rod box is kind of in the way of getting that thing into the hole perfectly. So but so I guess what we'll do now is kind of give you guys and gals a run through of the actual tents themselves and the features that we like and what we don't like. So let's do that.
Sounds good, man.
All right everybody, this is my Smittybuilt XL Overlander. It's 122 inches in width, 76 inches in length, and it's 51 inches high. It's pretty big. It's probably the biggest one that they actually make. I think these are still going for about 1,100 bucks just for this tent itself. So basically what you're seeing here is we've got a rain fly that is removable. It's pretty easy to remove. You can actually do it from inside the tent too. I will not be showing you that today, but it's as you can see, there's clips. You know, it's pretty easy. It's self-explanatory. And then you got some rain guards for the windows here, which are great. That was actually one of the big things for me when I bought this tent, because you know, some days it's a little drizzly or maybe it's real sunny and you still want to have the windows open to get some airflow in there and everything. But as I go around, I'll show you. So what you got here is you got these rain fly supports that pretty much just go into these little holes that are drilled into the aluminum base here. As you can see as I open that up. Brian has the same thing. But what these do, actually, these are pretty sturdy and they bend. They're made to bend. But as you can see, they go through the holes and they keep it off the window itself so you can get plenty of airflow. All right, what we got here is we got this Velcro flap here, and it allows you to get entry into the inside, the interior. And this is great for running like power cables, you know, if you got solar, whatever. I mean, it's a good access point for something like that. When I'm out, usually when I'm out, I'll shove like a sock into a plastic bag and put it in this place just to make it a little bit more weather safe, or I guess weatherproof. because it does allow for a little bit of access here in case you don't want any bugs if it's a little mosquito-y where you are. All right, and as we go around, we find ourselves at the vestibule. And what I really love about this vestibule is that it is a word I can never remember. And I'm surprised I did for this video. So there you go. But what this is great for is that this adds a lot of rain protection to my entry. So Smittybuilt makes one that's a little bit smaller than this that doesn't offer the vestibule. I just saw it as a better opportunity just to be able to enjoy the outdoors a little more, and then like on those rainy days if you're caught out there, you're going to be able to just, you know, still kick it in the tent, not have to worry about rain getting in. You got perfect airflow. All right, come here, Brian. Come over here. Let's check the inside out. So as you can see, as you look in here, you've got these cables. These are basically just bungee cables that are running from the sides. What these help to do is when you close the tent, these help to pull in the sides of the tent for the folding. Basically what you do is you crawl in here when you have it open, and then what you do when you actually open the tent is you just disconnect from the where the hook is and the holes over there. It's real easy, and then I usually just leave them on the sides after I do that, or you can like put them into one of the pockets that are in the low level there. There's a lot of pockets in here. Again, I mean, with 122 by 76 inches, I mean, there's a lot of room in here, and it may not look big, but this is very big inside. I mean, you know, I'm like 5'10", 250, plenty of room. And I usually have an inflatable mattress that is about 8 inches high, because, you know, you gotta sleep posh and stuff, right? I mean, why get a 4 inch when you can get an 8? But anyway, and as you can see right there too, with the Smittybuilts, you're gonna get this LED strip that velcros right at the top there. And it's got a little pouch where the cable goes, so that's a perfect place for a little power cell that can power it for as long as you want. I mean, it's LED, so it's not going to pull a lot. And you'll notice that on the roof we have these screens here. Now the rainfly is actually covering the access, but if I wanted to, I could actually open these up and get a lot of airflow from the roof itself. I don't have the clear plastic coverings on here like you see on some of them, but I think it's because I have the rainfly that already comes with it, so they didn't bother to do it, which is fine. And to be honest, I mean, I'll open them up when the rainfly is open, because I can still get the access. Like I said, I just undo the screen, and then I just do the flap, pull that back, and then I just do the screen back. And then I got airflow. This mattress is only 2 inches thick. It is not the most comfortable mattress you'll ever have. A lot of people usually add about 3 or 4 inches of memory foam to this, and then it's usually pretty good. I would say if you're a smaller, lighter person, you're gonna be all right here. But I mean, if you're a big dude or, you know, big gal, you might be hipping it into the bottom here, and they ain't gonna feel good. Part of the reason why I got that 8-inch inflatable mattress in here. But this is this is perfect for 2 adults and a kid, but definitely for 2 adults. There's plenty of room in here, and I usually just use one half to kind of stage stuff. Like I'll put my bag in there. I'll have, you know, the charging, basically a charging center for my power cells, GoPros, and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is the access point, you know, under the vestibule, and I think this is a great thing, especially when it's raining, like I said. Now the other thing that's missing from here that's not shown in this video is that there's usually paracord that I tie to here, and then I'll weigh it down at the bottom with 5 to 10 pounds of weights, just because of the wind and everything. Because some of these, if it gets too windy, depending on where you are, the wind can actually close the tent. So if you don't want that to happen, weigh that down pretty good, or stake it down if it's possible. But that basically levels everything out and brings everything kind of like more flush and, I guess, linear would be the right word. I'm not sure. But at least where it looks clean.
So what about this zipper? What's a zipper for going around the bottom here, Jay?
Yeah, great question, Brian. So on many of the rooftop tents, there's an option that comes with it where you can actually add an annex. And an annex really is just a wall tent that actually zips across the whole base here. And so you'll see that the zipper follows all the way to the sides. So you see how the zipper falls all the way over here and all the way to the end. And the Smittybuilt one has a floor in it, I believe, and so it's fully enclosed. So this is a good thing for people who have animals. If you've got kids, you can put a cot down on the bottom. If you got if it's just you and the wife or you and the girlfriend or whatnot, you can put a bathroom down here. So then you can take your poops in secret, or nobody can see you, but they'll hear you. It's just a tent. But no, it's a great little thing. I mean, I use it for like when we're usually camping. So what I actually use this for, because I haven't purchased the Annex, mainly because I just don't really think I would use it a lot. And then not only that, mine is kind of set up kind of low because of the trailer. Usually these are on top of trucks or SUVs, and you know, the length of the Annex supports that. But the other thing is I just like to have an open canopy basically, or like a covering. So I have a roof over my head even when it's raining if I'm sitting outside. So you don't have to just sit inside. You don't have to put up a tarp anywhere. But yeah, I mean, and you can like hang speakers and stuff like that if you want. The other thing that I didn't bring is there's actually this little pocket, or this little, I guess this little bag that hangs from here, and it's for your shoes. So when you hop up there, you know, obviously you got your shoes on, because I'm gonna tell you, you don't really want to be barefoot on these steps. You just put your shoes in here from the hanging pouch, and they're dry throughout the night. All right, so this is the lighter that comes with the Smittybuilt. You'll see it, Brian's is a lot different, and Brian's I think is more in line with what most of them look like when they come with some of the tents. What I have done is I've actually drilled extra holes into the ladder, as you can see here, because my tent is sitting on the trailer and it's a lot lower than like what we talked about, being on top of a truck or an SUV. So I had to make extra DIY adjustments. There's no issue with that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do a lot of stuff to their tents. This is what I did. Another thing I might do in the future is put some grip tape. If you're not coming up here with shoes, and sometimes you do come down here with bare feet, you can feel every one of these ridges on these things. I mean, they just cut right in. So, and I'm hoping to get a little bit more comfort out of something like maybe like C-Deck that would go on here. I mean, I haven't tried it. Just something to think about when you actually get a rooftop tent and you got to actually put your feet on these ladders. All right, so you may not have seen one of these trailers before. I'm going to go through a little bit what I've done to the trailer itself. So what this is a right-on trailer. These are out of Georgia. These are trailers you have to put together yourself. And I bought this. It came in like 4 boxes. Took me about 2 or 3 hours to put together to make sure all the nuts and bolts are down. And mine came with actually longer bars. I've cut them down since. Basically, you can put 2 kayaks on here. Now, it did not come with this, I call this a tier system. I don't know the right name of it, that's just what I call it. This is a tier system I outsourced. I got it from a company out in Oregon, where they cut everything for me, and they're the only ones I knew that had these brackets. I didn't need a no weld system because I'm not a welder. So I added this to the trailer itself so I could initially have another kayak with me, which I used for a while. Until I got the rooftop tent. I knew kind of ahead of time that I was probably going to be getting a rooftop tent on here, so I definitely wanted something that was sturdy. So this is about 85 pounds of steel I added to the trailer itself, but it can support the rooftop tent, which is 130 pounds. And actually I think it's 140 pounds. This is a 140 pound rooftop tent. Yeah, I mean, it's been great. So I mean, I've done some of my own, matter of fact, what else? I did the tires, right? So this came with like 8-inch rim, like 12-inch high tires. And when I made all of these additions to the trailer itself, it no longer really could sustain its balance while you were driving. And it's kind of a little dangerous. I was a little scared to drive it. So I made some adjustments and I was able to add these motorcycle trailer tires on here, which are great. And they stand about 18 inches tall at this point. And these are the Landstar tires, which are Kenda tires. It's another branch of Kenda, and I love Kendas. From my mountain biking days, I used to use Kendas all the time. I still do to this day. I just trust Kenda, so I was down for that. And if you come back here a little more, you're gonna see that I actually added the stabilizers. These are very simple, and essentially all these do, and I have these on here just to keep them up, just to be sure, but they lock. These actually just swing down, and then there's a metal bar that you just crank down a little bit just to stabilize. You don't want to lift up the trailer, you're just trying to stabilize it to take the weight off the axle. And then the other thing here is that I actually made these rod tubes. Now, these are the same ones that Gene Jensen made. This is 6-inch PVC for Schedule 40. I bought the Reese kit for these. The covering is Flex Seal, just like Gene did. And another thing that I did to these to make it more waterproof, because these aren't, it's not waterproof, but it's waterproof enough, is I put silicone on the ends. If you come here, it looks, it's not as clean as I thought it might look, but it's not bad. But anyway, I put silicone on here, and then I put the caps on, and then I tighten these down. So what that's going to offer you, it's going to offer you some weatherproofing to some extent, and then it's also going to give you some security, because not only do you got to get through the screws, which is, you know, let's face it, pretty easy to take off. If you've got to like actually get these caps off, I mean, you have to go through the silicone now. So you've got to pry it off, or I mean, there's some work ahead of you. And the other thing I did that a lot of people maybe don't even know about is that, so when you get these caps, they're just metal. I mean, they're just straight up metal. And I actually got one of those pads that you use in the gardening section, from the gardening section, that you kneel on. And they're about this thick. Now, if you get one of those, I actually cut it out in a circle and then siliconed it to the cap here. So if I'm, you know, driving and everything, I'm gonna make a sudden stop, I don't have my rod tips like crashing into metal. So now they're going into some foam. So I added that extra protection up front for myself. I just thought it was a good idea. All right, and what we also got here too, so I have 43-inch clearance from, this is 5 feet high, by the way. And I got 43 inches of clearance in between. This big rig touches but as it comes in, like just barely on both sides. So the big rig, as I said, is 43 inches on the top, 40 inches on the bottom. And as you can see, I got plenty of clearance here for the big rig. Now the big rig is 13.3 feet long. So this, I would say this trailer is kind of small for it, in my opinion, because I see a lot of the tongues on the trailers now that are really long. I kind of envy that aspect of it, just for keeping it away from the truck, maneuverability and everything. But it's pretty standard. Oh, and this is also another addition I did after the fact. It just came with a leg before that kicked down because it was a very light system. I mean, at one time I could move this trailer without a problem with, you know, just by moving around and manhandling it. But these days it's really heavy now, and it's the 4th of July, so boom. But then I added the wheel crank here, like all boat trailers have, just to give me adjustment too, to be able to level out the tent itself. Because it's fairly level right now. We kind of did a quick job on it, but you know, we're not showing all that right now. And up here, you're going to see that they actually added vents into the tent. So you have these on both sides. So they already thought about airflow and condensation and things like that. Now this won't eliminate condensation, of course, but it is going to help to eliminate that. You will have to manage that yourself, and that is a very important piece of this too. You really want to watch the condensation and the buildup, so you don't want to get mildew in your tent. You do have to manage that. After every use, you really want to be able to like lift up that mattress, like with your sleeping bag or something. Matter of fact, even if you're at the campground, lift up your mattress, shove like something underneath there to elevate it to where airflow can get underneath there to make sure it airs out. So then when you put it down, you're good to go and you don't have problems with mildew, like a surprise. Like if I had opened this up, I mean, it's been since last year, I would have been a little ticked to see some mildew in here. And I had the foresight when I was camping last time to do that, because I don't want to deal with that. I mean, it's because then you got to get a new mattress, you got to do like a pretty heavy cleanup on it. You know, you want to take care of your tent. I mean, this is the 600D canvas as well. It's waterproof. When you first get this tent, they'll tell you to actually water down your tent before you use it the first time. And what this is going to do is this is going to tighten your stitching. It's going to bring your stitching in, and it just make it stronger on the corners and the seams and everything. And it's also a good time to test if you do have any leaks. And then you can take care of things at that point, or talk to the manufacturer if that's what it takes. I haven't had any problems with this thing yet, and I think this thing is a great tent. You know, it's really roomy, like I said. You know, and if you got like a family, you got a dog, something like that, I mean, you're gonna want some space. So this is the Smittybuilt XL Overlander.
All right, guys, this is the Yakima Skyrise HD size medium. I have used this small. As a lot of you know, I work for Rocktown Adventures here in Northern Illinois, and we actually have a small demo. So I used that a few weeks ago, and then I got this guy. I wanted a little bit more room, like Jay had mentioned. You know, 2 adults, usually you're making trips or going on trips, or you may be fishing a tournament or something, need a buddy that needs somewhere to crash. That's why I went with a little bit bigger. So as Jay mentioned, I do have the same thing as he does for slipping in power. So I usually run an extension cord in here, and then I'll plug in my battery charger and stuff like that. And then I also on my little battery box, I got USB ports, so make sure my phone's charged, things like that for when I'm fishing the tournament the next day. I know I have plenty of juice to submit photos and things like that when I'm kayak tournament fishing. But this is nice, you know, you can run some power in there. I do have a little portable fan that I bring that runs off batteries, but it also plugs in. So, you know, if my batteries die, I can always plug that phone in, especially like right now, like Jay mentioned earlier, it's the 4th of July, it's hot. And that's why we're doing this in the shade, right? Because, you know, on a hot, steamy day, you want a little bit of airflow in there and things like that. Similar to Jay's Rainfly, these posts here, they run right down into a little metal hole that's drilled in the frame of the actual trailer. So that's very similar to the Smittybuilt. And then this pole just bends and pulls this Rainfly back. I do have the side window. So the one thing like you'll notice compared to Jay's Smittybuilt is his awning comes out a little bit more. This is nice because this will make the rain deflect straight down, but I kind of do like the awning that Jay has on his Smittybuilt for his side windows. And this has got a screen or a big window. So if you got a nice breezy day, like I feel the wind kicking up a little bit here today, like it would definitely move some air through the tent. So also with this Rainfly, you'll see on this back side, I can either clip this in. Yeah, this side clips in. I just don't have it clipped. So this drops down so the rain will fall right off the tent. But on the back corners, like Jay was talking about, I could run stakes down so that just keeps that awning propped up. Coming around, I don't have as nice of a vestibule as Jay does or as big, but this does overhang a little bit. So that way, if it's raining or you got some weather, you're covered when you step inside here to go to get into the tent. I do have a 2-inch foam mattress here that came with the tent. This thing is super comfortable. The first time I tried out a Yakima tent, I didn't set up my sleeping bag because I got into town late. I was going down to Table Rock Lake for a fishing tournament, and I crawled in and I slept in it, and it was super comfortable. The following day, I put my air mattress in here, my Big Agnes air mattress that goes with my sleeping bag, and it wasn't right. It didn't feel as comfortable as it was with just the pad. So when I'm in here, this mattress pad that Yakima puts out is super, super comfortable. So I really love that feature. The ladder, like Jay said, this thing collapses really tight. And you got a strap that keeps this together from sliding apart. Obviously, like Jay talked about, a lot of these are going on roofs of trucks and things, so this will actually extend down quite a ways. So like if I wanted to put this tent on the top of my Suburban, I totally could, and you know, have ease of getting up and down that ladder. I do have the same feature where I could put an awning or an Annex on the bottom of this going around. Yakima sells that as a separate entity, so that just hooks up right on the underneath here. There's a track right here where it kind of slides in, kind of like this does. It's got like a rounded fabric over a piece of plastic, and that just slides in here. So that Annex would do the same thing. It just slide in here, slide in here. So it's not messing with zippers, but it's messing with sliding it into the tracks. So the inside of the tent, each window and door has a screen and an actual fabric. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same fabric Jay's got, maybe a little heavier.
It feels about the same.
Yeah, it's almost like a canvas type deal. But when we come into the tent, it's not as big as Jay's, I don't think. But you could definitely sleep 2 guys comfortably. All right, guys, this is the side window, and where Jay was saying he like stuffs a sock with a plastic bag in his to kind of keep it sealed up, I got a flap on the inside as well, so I just drop this down here. That'll keep the bugs and the mosquitoes and things like that out. I can tighten that up. Also, as you can see up on the roof, I have the same, you know, window screen set up. And then also in the Rainfly, there's plastic windows. So if I want sunlight to come in and things like that, I can still get that through the Rainfly when these things are open. You'll notice there's pouches in every corner. Little mesh pockets. You can put your phone up there, things like that, to you know, kind of keep things up off the mattress and stored away. I do have an LED strip light, like Jay was talking about, that goes across the crossbar up there. I just, it hasn't come in yet. It does not come with the Yakima tent. That's like an addition, an extra that you can order separately. So I think it's called the Skylight for the loft tent, or loft skylight, something LED strip light that goes up there. And it just runs off at 12 volts. So I do have that coming. I just haven't received it yet. Also, they have a bag that can hang here for your shoes, like Jay was talking about. That's additional with Yakima. I have that coming as well. It's got pockets for your shoes, sandals, whatever, cell phone, miscellaneous items, keys, stuff like that. But it's a little bag that hangs here, so you can climb up, sit on the bed, take your shoes off, put them in the pouch. So this is what I was talking about up here. I got the plastic windows on the Rainfly, so when I have those internal windows open, you could see through, you can get sunlight, but still be protected from rain. This Rainfly does come off. It's super easy. Basically, in all the corners, you got some clips, and there's a little bar on the outside, 3 of them, and they just pop right out. And there's little clips up underneath here, and then this bar just slides out, so that thing can come off real easy. So like if you know it's not going to rain or anything like that, I would normally take this Rainfly off, just so that way I could open up those windows, get some air through. At night, it's cool to have just that screen open on the ceiling, so you can look up at the stars or whatever. And I mean, for the most part, that's my tent. The one thing I was going to say, and you guys probably saw in the time lapse, is typically what we'll do is we'll put these rods, they come in little bags like this, and we'll just, when we store them, we throw them right underneath the mattress here, so that way it's all good to go. Like I got a tool here if I need to adjust my rack setup on the underneath, but that's typically where this stuff gets stored, is right underneath the mattress in the tent, so you have it with you at all times and you don't forget it. You can pack it up that way super easily.
And can't you leave your sleepwear in there? Like can you leave your sleeping bag and a pillow and stuff like that in there?
You could, for sure. I always take mine out. I just I use a big Agnes sleeping bag. That's mainly for like hiking, and a lot of mountain climbers and stuff use that because it's super lightweight. It's all feathered down, so that thing compresses super small. But I typically take mine out. But you certainly can if you're, you know, say you're out in Yellowstone National Park and your campsite hopping through the park. You could just totally close this up with all that stuff in there, so when you get to your spot, open up the tent, your bed's already made and ready to go. But you could definitely do that for sure. So as you guys see, I got the Yakima EasyRider trailer. Everything on here is a Yakima setup basically. I went with one specific brand for everything, just because everything's compatible, right? So the EasyRider, it's nice, and one of the features I went with this for was because I fish out of the Jackson Kayaks Blue Sky Angler 360. It's 47 inches wide, fits in here perfectly on this lower level. I could fit potentially 2 smaller fishing kayaks on the bottom, but this is nice for the BSB just because it fits in there. Obviously, you know, we looked at Jay's trailer. That boat wouldn't fit in there because it's 47 inches wide. So that was one of the main things, is something that I could transport this wider boat around. And then the upper tier, right? If I didn't have the tent or the rod box, I can definitely fit 2 more bigger fishing kayaks on the top of this rack. These are the Yakima Hd Bars. It comes with the trailer. This is exactly the way it's set up. The one thing I did add, it was additional from Yakima, is the jack set. So these are in the front because the wheels are so far back. These jacks are pretty much the same exact ones as Jay has. They fold down.
They are the exact same.
I got a little bar. It cranks it up, and like Jay said, you're not trying to lift the trailer up. You're just trying to stabilize it. The tent kit for this trailer comes with this, and it's got wheel chocks that strap around the wheels for both sides, so that way your trailer's not moving around. I do have the wheel chocks in my garage. I haven't used them yet because I typically leave my trailer hooked up to my vehicle. It all depends on kind of what I have going on. So moving back, this is the Yakima rod box. Obviously, Jay and I are big fishermen. This thing's really nice. This would go on the roof rack of your vehicle, things like that. But it's nice to keep your fishing rods out of your vehicles. I know so many friends that have broken rod tips and stuff from slamming them in car doors. So this keeps all my fishing rods stored away right here. I could even put some camping gear underneath the rods. Obviously, you see I keep a lot of fishing tackle underneath there. So far I've had 12 rods in this thing, and I could probably fit 1 or 2 more. I know Yakima specs like, I think it's 8 or 10, but I've definitely fit more in this box. So that's why I have this here. The nice thing is you can see this is right at, you know, my waist level. So getting in, seeing what I'm grabbing and stuff, instead of trying to crawl on top of my vehicle and dig through and make sure I'm grabbing the right rods was key to me. So having this on here, and the fact that it sets up nice and easy right here next to the tent has just been essential for me. Totally love the setup. This EasyRider trailer is not like your typical trailer. It's got independent suspension, so each wheel will move going over a bump. I know yesterday Jay and I were driving up, and the one thing he noticed is this trailer doesn't bounce all over the road like a solid axle trailer. So you pay a little bit more for this trailer, but for the functionality and the towing of it, it definitely pays for itself. It came with the wider tires instead of the skinny, like, you know, I call them like front tire motorcycle tires, you know. So this trailer is actually speed rated for 75 miles an hour, and it pulls like a dream. It does have the breakaway tongue, which is nice and crucial. All I do is pull this pin. This arm will swing all the way underneath the trailer. So compacting this into my garage, just pull this, and I have all this extra room in front of my trailer when it's in the garage. So one thing I will say is the actual cover for the tent, this does roll up, and there's some little straps, so you can keep this up off the floor. I just didn't do it for this, you know, initial video. Typically I don't roll it up because usually I'm pulling into my campsite, setting up my tent, cooking dinner, hanging out, crashing in the next morning. I'm collapsing this down and hitting the road to the lake or wherever I'm going to be fishing. But this thing does stay attached. It doesn't completely disconnect like Jay's does. But what they did is they put some straps so you can roll that up and keep it nice and rolled underneath the actual trailer, so it's not getting wet if you got weather or things like that. So yeah, that's the Yakima Skyrise HD size medium tent. So far I love this thing.
All right, so now that you've seen the actual tents themselves, what are some of the things that you liked about mine versus yours?
So I think the one thing I like about your tent is the bigger Annex over the ladder. You got a lot more room to move around. But I think that's partial to my trailer sits lower than yours too. You know, for me, I'm a tall guy, so like ducking underneath that rain fly is kind of different. But I like the fact that your tent came with the LED strip light and it came with the bag, whereas I had to get that extra. You know, so I think that's 2 key features that definitely are pros for Jay's tent. You know, Jay's tent is a little bit bigger, I think. It may be almost the same, but I think you got a little bit more room on my end.
It's a little bigger, yeah.
And I do like the awnings that come out off the tent over the windows, compared to my rain fly that just kind of goes out and over. You know, price-wise, Jay's tent is almost half the price of mine, from a retail standpoint. So I mean, that's a big pro too.
And I'll say this, I got on the rooftop tent train before it kind of blew up with all
Yep.
the kayakers, I actually picked up my tent for like $750.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I bought it, it was already like $900.
Yeah.
Like reposted again.
Yeah.
So where there's a supply, there's a demand, and you're gonna pay that extra cash. I just looked it up before we did this video.
Yeah.
And it was going for about $1,100, $1,200. So I mean, if you look for the deals, they're out there. You can get them a lot cheaper than $1,200, but still, I think you're gonna be good with that price point.
Yeah. And the Yakima, just a retail price point on the Yakima tent is $2,100. And I mean, once in a while you can find some deals and stuff like that out there on them, but it's definitely a little bit more money. Now, at the beginning, we talked about like setting up the tents. Mine set up 2 minutes faster. Is that worth an extra $1,000? Not really sure. But we're also going to run a breakdown of the tents here in a second, and we'll see how fast they pack up. You can kind of determine there too, like, is that worth the extra money on the Yakima versus the Smittybuilt? I mean, overall, I think they're both great trailers. So, I mean, was there features on the Yakima that you liked over your Smittybuilt?
Well, to be honest with you, no.
Yeah.
They're so equal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine's bigger.
Yeah.
So I like that one better. But I mean, it's like they're pretty much even.
Yeah.
I mean, the material feels about the same. Of course, like I said, I got more space, but the setups are very similar.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing for me is the trailer.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I absolutely love this trailer. I love that it's wider. I love that it's a little shorter. I love that it's got the folding tongue.
Yeah.
4th of July. I don't like the price point.
Yeah.
What was the price point again?
The price point on the trailer retail is $3,000.
So, collectively with mine, I think I'm at I would say conservatively maybe close to $1,400 with all the extra stuff. Maybe 50. Let's just call it 15. So I'm still at half the price.
Yep.
But I had to build mine, and this is like after the fact. This is once everyone figured out oh, we should make a trailer that can take a kayak and put whatever else you want on there, as well put a rooftop tent on there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much, a lot of people are doing this now.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'll say too. Jay touched on it when he got his trailer. My trailer as well, the Yakima, comes in like 4 or 5 different boxes, and you have to assemble it yourself. I think it took me roughly 3 hours, somewhere around there. And it's not complicated. So if you're not the most handy person, it's super easy. The directions were very specific. They weren't very vague. So anybody could virtually set that trailer up. It's super easy to do, minimal tools. It's mostly tools that you'll have sitting around your house, and some things that you don't, they actually send you, like Allen keys and things like that, for all the different bolts.
Yeah, and I would say that the time, the time limit it took to put them together is mostly because you're taking your time.
Yeah.
It's a trailer after all.
Yeah.
It's going to be rolling on the road.
Yeah.
So every bolt, I'll check it twice, check it 3 times.
Yep. Just
to make sure everything's good. I, matter of fact, go over mine every year before I get it on the road again, because stuff comes loose. I mean, they're just nylon nuts.
Yep.
Right, and they come loose.
Yep.
And then you just got to make sure that you're looking over everything, because it can be dangerous.
Just to clarify, nylock nuts. They are metal, but they have a piece of nylon that locks it onto the threads. But Jay's 100% right. I mean, the last thing you want to do is, as you're driving down the road, have a tire fly off, hit a car, family, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, just definitely, take a glance over your trailer. We have a trip coming up here in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go through, make sure all my lug nuts are tight and things like that. Just because it is a trailer, it's normal wear and tear. Always be cautious, and also check like on my Yakima trailer, the mounting brackets for that upper rack on my tent and my rod box. I'll check to make sure those are tight. The last thing I want to do is lose my tent as I'm going down the road. So you definitely want to check to make sure that that stuff's all tightened up. Obviously trailers going down the road, it's bouncing a little bit, stuff works loose sometimes. I haven't had anything come loose since I've gotten it. I will put that out there. I'm not saying like your nuts and bolts are going to come loose.
No, of course not.
It's just a safety thing. You want to go through and double check all that stuff to make sure you're not going to lose something as you're rolling down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say this, like, I know we all like to go fast.
Yeah.
You still got to check those speeds. It's a trailer, and watch your tire inflation too.
Yeah.
Whatever your PSI is at, depending on what trailer you got, especially for those of you who are building DIY trailers out of jet ski trailers and everything, your spring setting is going to be very springy.
Yeah. Because
it's made to take the weight of a jet ski. So you have to. So with that being said, you got to counter your PSI versus however your suspension is. That's a big plus. That's another reason why I went with the big motorcycle tires versus the general standard, you know, trailer tires. They just weren't enough. I was too top heavy. I had to do something. Brian's, on the other hand, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The thing rolls over. I mean, I was blown away by what I saw just yesterday. You know, watching this thing barely take any bit of a bounce. Mine will bounce.
Yeah.
I really have to take care. Matter of fact, for our trip, I was telling him, I was like, hey, we're not going over 75, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, like talking about DIY trailers is always look at the speed rating. The last thing you want to do is burn out a bearing rolling down the road. Now you're stuck on the side of the road, especially us as fishermen. We're in some pretty remote backcountry where you may not have a cell signal. So just be conscious of that stuff when you're looking around, thinking about purchasing a trailer and things like that.
Get the spare tire.
Yep.
Get two.
Yep.
Get two if you can, if it's affordable.
Yep.
You just don't know, like when things are gonna go out. I know guys that carry extra bearings.
Yep.
Because you literally could do that on the side of the road.
Yep.
You could pack bearings, and some of them come pre-packed. You don't even have to do that. But if you have grease, I carry grease. I don't carry the bearings, but I do carry the extra tire.
Yeah.
Because you just do not know what's gonna happen out there.
Yeah, and speaking of the spare tires, you can see Jay's is mounted up here in the front behind his little wheel on the tongue.
I will say that is not the tire I use anymore. I just use that to balance out. I will say that tire is not the one, it's not one of my spares, but it balances out the Kayak. I carry the spare in the back, but there was a time when that was my spare and that's where it's at.
Yeah. And mine actually mounts underneath the trailer on the back side.
Yeah, recessed into the frame.
And again, with Yakima, that was an addition. I believe it was $150, roughly, maybe $200 for the support beam that goes between the two bars underneath, and then the actual rim and tire itself. It's a full-size spare. So it's nice to have that full-size spare. It's not like a car with a donut tire, you know. So
yeah, don't skimp on the detail. I mean, you want these things to be roadworthy, and as we all know, we go to the middle of nowhere sometimes. You need your trailer to be there for you as well as your vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, would you take your vehicle without a spare? I hope not.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so I mean, do the same for your trailer. It just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do now, guys, is get these things broke down, give you a little time breakdown on that. We'll roll the time lapses again with the stopwatch, and we'll get this thing closed out for you guys, and really hope you guys got a lot from this. So here we go. All right, you guys, there's the breakdown. It took me a little over 4 minutes, Jay a little over 7 to break the tents down and get them all packed up, ready to go. Yeah, hope this video helped you guys make out some decisions and kind of give you some ideas on kayak, fishing, trailer setups, and an insight on the 2 different tents. Anything else?
Agreed.
Until next time, guys, tight lines, smooth paddling.